The season began on the 1st of March and, as usual, continued through the end of September. The spring fishing, mostly targeting spawn-out fish, was better than in recent years. A positive sign, as it likely indicates that more salmon and sea trout than before chose to enter the river. Spring 2025, much like the year before, was marked by cold weather with lower than normal temperatures, which naturally caused older fish to remain in the river longer. Unfortunately, the cold also meant that the May fishing for large fresh-run salmon never materialized. Only a couple of salmon were landed during the entire month, despite periods of heavy fishing pressure. The few fish that did take were relatively small. During May and June, fewer than 25% of the salmon caught managed to break the magical 100 cm mark, numbers that are, of course, concerning. Summer fishing was practically non-existent. In July, only 5 fish were caught, largely due to a heat wave that ruined the latter half of the month. Autumn fishing, however, was not affected by extreme heat. Despite low water levels, only 6 cubic meters per second, the catches were better than in the previous 2 years. In summary, more fish were caught in 2025 than in the years before. Optimists call it a trend reversal, but I prefer to wait and see. It is entirely possible that this year's increase is just a temporary bump in a downward trend. Still, during the autumn fishing I felt that I hadn't seen this much fish in the river for many years. A good sign, even though the poor water flow from May onward may lead to weaker spring fishing in 2026. Mainly because fewer fish managed to continue upstream past Knaggalid. The spring fishing of 2025 also highlighted the issue of Härnäs, something that becomes obvious when looking at the statistics. This stretch accounted for nearly a quarter of all catches in March and April. The stretches downstream, Knaggalid, Svängsta and Vittskövle, together made up only 1/7 of the total catch during the same period. The relationship should have been the opposite. Under normal circumstances, the fish should have left Härnäs first. The reason the fish remains in this stretch is that the salmon and sea trout passing Knaggalid have very limited, if non-existent, opportunities to return to the sea. The power stations effectively block the way. To turn back, the fish must first locate a pipe measuring 40 × 40 centimeters and then somehow understand that this narrow passage is the route to freedom. Few, if any, older fish take the chance. They remain in Härnäs and eventually die. Their efforts are not entirely in vain. However, most of their offspring still seem able to migrate downstream. Even so, the fish that makes it far up the river are genetically important. They have managed to cover a considerable distance in fresh water and overcome numerous obstacles along the way. Moreover, the upper stretches of the river system have not been affected by disease to the same extent as the areas closer to the sea. That these long migrating fish are deprived the opportunity to return a second or third time to spawn is naturally a scandal in itself. The problem also appears to be relatively recent. Seasoned Mörrum veterans recall that previous power station owners manually helped fish past the barriers. Whether these recollections are accurate, I cannot say, but at least the issue had now been brought to light. I assume that the relevant parties will soon both find a temporary and, ultimately, a permanent solution so that the older fish are given a better chance to return to the sea. For my part, 2025 was my best year ever. The May fishing yielded nothing more than a lost salmon, and the summer fishing disappeared due to high temperatures. The autumn fishing, however, was absolutely fantastic. Despite the injuries, that meant I fished fewer days than usual. I still caught many fine fish. During the final 2 weeks of the season, I caught at least 1 fish every day, something to be particularly proud of. Fishing in the Mörrum River is not easy, and being able to deliver day after day suggests that I must be doing something right. Beyond the statistical success, I also managed this autumn to slow down and truly enjoy being out in the magnificent nature surrounding the river. The overall experience was better than ever. 2025 was the year I found the perfect balance between fishing, nature and recovery. For me, it's a great privilege to wade out into the river. There, in the water, I feel a sense of anticipation every time the fly lands and is carried along by the currents. At any moment the fish might strike, all while I'm calmly taking in the surroundings, the sounds and the scents. I truly look forward to my next visit. Some general statistics from the autumn fishing. The low water flow naturally played a major role in how the catches were distributed between the stretches. The northern stretch saw a significant improvement, while the fishing in Härnäs was worse than the year before. The trend over the past 5 or 6 years is that the difference between the stretches have been evened out. This is likely because we anglers have dared to try new areas compared to before. It will be exciting to follow the developments in the coming years, especially in the northern section. I personally chose to fish that stretch more regularly, which paid off in every way, both in the number of fish caught and in the joy of reconnecting with areas I hadn't fished frequently for many years. I'm also including an image that illustrates the difference between fishing with and without barbs. The contrast could not be clearer. In 2023, when the barbs were not allowed, the number of landed fish dropped significantly. When barbs were reintroduced the following year, the trend returned to normal distribution. Let's hope Mörrums fiske has learned its lesson and does not repeat the mistake of turning the clock back 50,000 years. The future of the salmon remains worrying. Catch quotas for herring, the salmon's natural food source, were once again much higher than desired, despite scientists' warning that stocks risk collapsing. The trawling boundary has been moved out into the central Baltic Sea to the territorial waters limit, but trawling is still allowed close to the coast in other areas. The decision to partially move the boundary is temporary and valid only until early 2027. The risk is therefore significant that the near-shore trawling will soon be allowed again under vague political pretenses. Naturally, the trawling ban should be made permanent for all waters within Sweden's territorial boundaries. How hard can it be? On the positive side, disease outbreaks in the river have been fewer than before, and Fiske still seem committed to developing the fishery, for the fish, for the anglers, and for other visitors who want to experience the beauty of the Mörrum River. For the latter, there are opportunities to rent kayaks and bicycles or hike along one of the nearby trails. This initiative had the potential to generate increased revenue, especially during the summer when the fishing pressure is low. Hopefully, the money can help improve conditions for salmon and sea trout. As for my own future, I don't quite know what lies ahead. My YouTube channel, Dr. John the Angler, has been rather dormant. I have significantly reduced the number of videos I publish, even though I actually have plenty of spectacular catches to show. The reason is that over the past year and a half I have devoted all my energy and creativity to writing a book, a self-biographic account of my fishing in general and my fishing in the Mörrum River in particular. The book will be published, but when and how is still unclear. Perhaps I find a publisher. If not, I will publish it myself. Time will tell. Writing has also given me a taste for more. During the autumn fishing 2025, I kept a diary. I am now compiling those notes into yet another book, one in which I intend to share everything from ideas and choice of fishing spots to techniques and how brief encounters along the riverbank can spark new thoughts and creations. It is important to always remain observant and humble. That's all for now. Tight lines and see you in Mörrum in 2026.